Hi, welcome to Biz Today. I am Nazareen Ebrahim. As you know, every week we bring you successful entrepreneurs into studio and we look for industry experts to talk to you about latest trending business topics to get your networking and business game going. This week we've pulled into studio a successful female tech entrepreneur, and I'm very pleased to say I know her through her years of working and watched her grow and rise to become a leading South African woman. I mean, we've got Kirsty Bisset in studio. She was named by Fast Company last year as one of the top 20 South Africans under 30. She was also recognized by Destiny magazine in their Power of 40. Need I say more? Well, stay tuned to hear more about her story. Kirsty, welcome to Biz Today. It's wonderful to have you in studio.
Thank you so much, Naz. Thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful. So we didn't tell the viewers, actually, it's Kirsty Bisset. She's a female tech entrepreneur. You've been doing some amazing things. You've been named by Destiny magazine in their Power of 40. Also as by Fast Company as one of the top 20 South Africans under 30. Take us to the very beginning. How did this all come about?
Oh gosh, how much time do we have? Naz, I think entrepreneurs start their journeys either out of desperation or for passion. In my case, it was both. I did a Bachelor of Business Administration through UNISA, and then I went on to do a postgrad diploma in management through Wits Business School. And when I finished studying, I really didn't know what to do. I was headhunted by a large corporate to work as a business analyst, and it was a business incubator that I worked at. So that was kind of my first interaction with entrepreneurship. So I would sit with entrepreneurs, go through the issues and try and solve it with them. But there was something missing for me. So I quit that job and I went traveling for a bit. Went to go experience different parts of the world, thinking that maybe when I came back, I would know what my calling was. Through this time, I'd kind of built up a bit of a personal brand online. Digital media was really growing in South Africa, and I thought when I got back, okay, let me get into the digital industry. So I tried, and I failed because no one would hire me.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well.
Yeah.
I've had a serious struggle.
Yeah. It was a very difficult job market, and I didn't have the formal agency experience that these agencies required. So fair enough, it would have been quite a risk for them to hire me. And then I got pretty desperate. I had no money, I had bills to pay. So I thought, well, if they're not going to hire me, I'll just hire myself. And that's how Stir was born, the digital agency. And it started off as a little one-man show. I tapped into my network. I tried to talk to other agencies saying, if you have any overflow work, throw it my way. And then a little turning point happened. My boss that I worked with at the business incubator before came to me and said that he'd been challenged by 702 and Cape Talk to run a 1,000 Rand challenge. They said to him, can you start a business with 1,000 Rand or less and make a profit? So he came to me and said, Kirsty, let's do this. Let's start a business with 1,000 Rand and see if we can make a profit to win this.
1,000 Rand and make a profit to win. This is an interesting story. I want our viewers to understand this carefully because you can take a small amount, as Kirsty is going to demonstrate.
So we had 1,000 Rand. We just got hold of everyone we knew. No matter how many times they said no, we said we were going to take on brands, build their social media following, create content for them, get their likes and followers up over a 6-week period. And that's the thing, we only had 6 weeks to do it. And see if we could win this. So we did. We called on everybody. We held seminars. We built their social media following. At the end of the 6 weeks, we'd actually ended up raising over 60,000 Rand with a starting amount of 1,000 Rand. And we won the challenge. We were up against a whole bunch of other business analysts and celebrities and talk show hosts and financial analysts. And we ended up winning it and turning over a profit of 60,000 Rand, which all ended up going to charity.
60,000 Rand.
There was no sleep.
What were some of the key, because that's an interesting story to share with the viewers. What were some of the lessons you learned about building a business from that experience?
I think the biggest lesson for me, and something I still carry through today, was to work with people who are completely different to you. So I had the digital expertise. You know, I had the social media expertise. I knew how to do that. I had no idea how to run a business. You know, I was a technician, and I think that's something that entrepreneurs face is a plumber knows the pipes inside out. An accountant knows the numbers inside out. But in terms of actually running a business and all of the functions within it, we have no idea. So that's where my ex-boss and I worked very well together. I had that expertise. He had the experience of actually running a business, putting the systems and processes in place. And we bumped heads a lot, but it worked because we had a completely different skill set. And that was the biggest lesson for me. And I still use it today. I still, when I'm employing people, when I'm looking for suppliers, even with clients, you know, you try to work with people who have completely different ideas to you. And it kind of takes the blinkers off a bit, you know.
That's so interesting to understand the lessons you can take away from that, because I think when entrepreneurs go into business sometimes, they may want to test the waters, or as you say, they're out of desperation, they would do it. But there's two things I like what you've talked about is the limited budget, so do as much as you can with what you have, and then putting a time frame on that and trying to push as much as possible.
You know what, Naz, there's no better time to be an entrepreneur than today. We have more access to information than we have ever had. Yeah. And it's getting easier and easier to access that information. You know, as data costs fall, as, you know, Wi-Fi drones coming about to turn an entire city into a Wi-Fi hotspot, it is becoming easier and easier to access information. So there's really no excuse to not start your own business, because all your resources are there, or they will be, hopefully.
You've grown Stir into quite a formidable institution. A lot of your clients have come to know and respect you. You worked across the board with very popular South African brands. I want to understand what it's been like as a young entrepreneur to walk through that period where you built a team suddenly, you're moving ahead, you're working across the country. What has that experience been like, and how can you relay that experience to young entrepreneurs out there?
It's tough being young. You know, as much as I say to young people, just go for it. You're at a serious disadvantage. I mean, when I started Stir, I had no formal experience.
You were only 24 back then.
Yeah, 23. Yeah. And I mean, I was walking out of, I had 2 degrees and I had 1 year of, you know, work experience, but my clients literally just had to trust me that I knew what I was doing. And also when you start, you have no idea what you're doing. You kind of go into a pitch and you're trying to look like an expert, but you walk out of there and you're like, oh shoot, okay, there is a lot that I need to do to make this work, but you do. And I must say, it's much easier now than it was then after 4.5 years. Because I have the credentials and the experience, and just I'm so much wiser than I was. I have more confidence going into it now. And I think that only comes with time and experience and taking the really hard knocks. But it's much easier for me to now walk into a room as a 29-year-old as it was when I was like 23, 24, you know, to convince people to work with us. But just stick to it. You know, I'm so glad that I did, because there's been many times when I've thought of, you know, tapping out and getting an easy 9 to 5.
Exactly.
And but I'm really glad I stuck it out, and it does get better. And those difficult times are still there. You know, there's still those times where I think, oh, this is hard. Also because that target keeps moving. You know, you keep growing. You think, okay, I've reached that target now in terms of clients or revenue or recognition or whatever it is, but okay, what's next? What's the next goal? What's the next target? Okay. So you're continually challenging yourself, and for me, I feel very uncomfortable in comfort zones. I don't like feeling comfortable. I continuously want to push myself and see what else is out there.
That's the true quality of an entrepreneur. Now I want to explore the confidence side a little bit more. But before we do that, I do want to ask you, when you decided to go into entrepreneurship as a very young woman with education behind you, a year of experience, working experience, how did your family support you in that endeavor? What was their response to you like?
They were very supportive. I will never forget that day I walked to that evening I walked to my dad and said, "So Dad, I'm thinking of starting my own agency." And he kind of just nodded. He was like, "Okay." I don't know if he knew if I was serious or not.
Or if you're thinking, are you listening to me? Please say something more.
Did you hear me? But my whole family was very supportive. And I think they just knew that I had something in me that wasn't going to be satisfied by working for someone. And my happiness mattered more to them than anything. And the fact that it would make me happy, it would fulfill me, it would satisfy me. Of course it was a risk, but I knew how much I had to put in to get something out of it. Yeah. And it has paid off.
And that, I think the support that you get from your family, who are the closest people to you, makes it that much more worthwhile. Absolutely. Because you go on this path and you have their full vested support and encouragement. So it just makes it so much more worthwhile. You would say?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, entrepreneurship isn't something that we're taught. Especially our generation, we're kind of taught that you study, you go into a job, you stay in that job for 20, 30, 40 years, you get your nice little retirement package and you're done. Entrepreneurship, it's a risk. It's going off the beaten track. It's not something that's necessarily encouraged because it is so risky. So I'm so in awe of anyone who decides to take that leap and start their own business. I wouldn't do it the way I did it, in quitting your job and then trying to find something. If I were to recommend anything, I would say start your business while you're still working, so you have that security blanket.
Yes.
But you started, and that's huge. Just keep at it.
Before we go to break, I wanted to explore a little bit about the confidence aspect. Because I've found also, as the years have gone by, you're not nervous anymore to walk into a boardroom and pitch to an executive committee or pitch to a client, because you understand your space. But that obviously comes with so much of work, and there are many times when you doubt yourself. What were some one or two tactics that you used to be able to move past those and then come to the stage where you're at now?
I still doubt myself. I still get butterflies before going into a room. But you know what I realized? Feeling nervous is exactly the same feeling as being excited. Those two emotions feel exactly the same.
I like that.
So if you're nervous, turn it into rather feeling excited and just fake it till you make it. Yeah. Walk in there as if you know it all. Because you do. You actually do. It's there. But when you're in that situation, you kind of get a bit of a block. But channel that nervous energy into feeling excited, and know that you probably do know more than that board sitting there, and feel confident in that. And just do it more and more and more. The more you do it, the more practice you get doing it, the better you feel. And then take criticism. People aren't there to knock you down. They're there to help you grow, even if it doesn't feel that way. So if someone criticizes you, take it on the chin and say, okay, this went wrong, this went right. How do I perfect it?
I couldn't have said it better. If you've just tuned in, we're speaking with our success story of the week, Kirsty Bisset. She's a female tech entrepreneur, a leading one in South Africa. You've heard about her amazing credentials. We'll be speaking more about her career and businesses she's now invested in after the break. Stay tuned.